One other solution to external costs that's specific to production externalities is what's called tradable pollution permits. It's a bit obscure. It was big a few years ago, and it's on the syllabus. So you need to know what they are. The idea is a very, very simple one. What you want to do is to imagine that you've got two businesses. Business A. Business A finds it hard to reduce pollution. They can, but it's difficult and expensive. Whereas firm B finds it easy to reduce pollution. It hasn't done so because it costs money to reduce pollution, but they find it easy and they find it hard. Suppose that the government comes along now and simply says, you both have to cut pollution by half. Then firm B will kind of go, okay, it's a bit of a bum deal, but yeah, okay, I'll do it. Firm A will go, oh my God, I'm screwed. The economic cost, the damage of doing it that way, is quite great, especially to firm A. Suppose firm A and firm B communicated. And they said, firm A said to firm B, well, tell you what, why don't I'll pay you to reduce pollution on my behalf. So what firm A does is it says, look, firm B, you cut all your pollution and I'll just stay the same. The government wouldn't really care because the total amount of pollution would be the same. But what's happened is that we've managed to reduce pollution in a much less damaging way. The firm that finds it easy to reduce pollution is the one that's done it. The firm that finds it hard to reduce pollution doesn't. It just keeps on doing what it's doing. And that's the idea behind tradable pollution permits. That we try and make a world in which those firms that find it easy to reduce pollution do so and have an incentive to do so. Firms that find it hard to reduce pollution aren't forced out of business. So the way this scheme works is that basically the government, it sets a target level of pollution. And then it issues permits. A permit is like a license equal to that level of pollution. So imagine that the target pollution level, suppose it's 1,000 tonnes of CO2, then it issues 1,000 permits, or they can be broken down into smaller units if need be. These are then distributed. Sometimes they're sold to businesses, sometimes they're given out. It doesn't really matter. If we go back to our two firms, firm A and firm B, let's suppose that they each now have 500 permits. Firm A has 500 permits, and firm B also has 500 permits. And let's suppose that at the moment they're emitting 750 tonnes of pollution each. So, if they don't do anything, firm A has only 500 permits, but it needs to emit 700 tonnes of pollution, so they would have to cut pollution by 250 tonnes, and so would firm B. But we said that firm A, they find it very hard to reduce pollution. So what might happen is we could create a marketplace in which A and B can trade. So what might happen is firm B says, well, actually, it's quite easy for me to reduce pollution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell half of my permits. I'm going to keep 250 permits, and I'm going to sell 250 permits to firm A. So now, firm A has 750 tonnes of pollution and 750 permits, so therefore they don't need to do anything. They can take no action. Firm B now has 750 tonnes of pollution and 250 permits, so they have to cut pollution by 500 tonnes. But they're not bothered because they find it quite easy to do so, and in any case they've been paid by firm A for their surplus permits. And that's the idea behind the scheme. So it's very, very simple. Which is, and what's going to tend to happen is that firms that find it easy to reduce pollution will sell permits to firms that find it hard. So, So what's what's the what are the benefits of a scheme like this? Well, firstly, it means that all firms have an incentive to decrease pollution. If you are a low-cost polluter, then you want to decrease pollution to sell more. So you can therefore you can sell more permits, so you can make a profit from that. And even if you're a high-cost polluter, it might make sense, if you can cut pollution, you've got an incentive to decrease pollution so that you can buy fewer permits. So it creates incentives to all firms in the market, to try to reduce pollution. The other thing that it does is, and this is the big benefit. The big benefit is that pollution is reduced in the most efficient way. Because the firms that reduce pollution are those that find it easiest to do so. And therefore, it's least damaging economically. So there's a less economic damage. We're able to reduce pollution without damaging businesses by as much as we would if we forced all businesses to do it. So, seems like a good scheme. What are some of the drawbacks? Some of the disadvantages of a scheme like this are the administration costs can be quite high. You've got to have some way. You've got to have some way of actually trading these permits. In some cases, obviously, these things they need to be global. Otherwise, if they're not, firms will simply relocate. It's difficult to estimate the number of permits. That's quite hard. And because it's a market, prices can be quite volatile. And that makes it difficult for firms to plan. But the basic idea then is that in order to pollute, you've got to have permits. Over time, what's going to happen, suppose this is the price of a permit, and that's the quantity. Over time, what happens is the government steadily reduces the supply of permits. That's the idea as years go by. Therefore, the price of permits is gradually going to be forced up, and therefore firms will have an increasing incentive to reduce pollution instead of buying permits.